this two-part topic video, we are obligated to give you this disclaimer. The information and the commentary disseminated within this episode are intended for educational and commentary purposes only. The emulation of these mentalities or behaviors are at your own discretion. Do your own research and further reading about the topic. Do not use the videos as a justification for your arguments. Don't be stupid. Don't be a f***ing neat. Get a job. It has been a while since we made the first part of this topic video and we have passed the holiday hangover. I still feel kind of lazy though. We here at Pilipinas Uncancelled greet you with an inspiring new year to our viewers and supporters. To recap the previous part of the topic video, we tackled the toxic values that we often encounter face to face within our daily lives, lingering and thriving in Filipino society. We may not be aware or do not admit that we commit these toxic values, so we gave a generalized overview and categorized those said toxic values. Go watch the first part if you haven't. We want you to catch up so you won't be confused. We'll be right here right after you do so. You've caught up? Good. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support really means a lot for us. Thank you. In this second and last part of our topic video about the toxic Filipino values, we attempt to contextualize and give you an idea of how does the aforementioned toxic values affect our society, both in general and individually through the various scenarios from a certain point of view. We gave you, our kind viewers, the liberty of sharing your experiences and sentiments regarding the topic through various platforms. We thank you for those who have shared their experience with us. In this scenario, we are going to put ourselves in the point of view of a student. A student which is an outcast because of their above average intellect and a somewhat unique skill set among their peers, but envied and sometimes exploited and taken for granted by the people around them. This student is in a university and their professor just assigned them a group task to be accomplished. The student has some social anxieties and because of various factors, they became an outcast among their block. The student does have some difficulty in joining groups as they observe that the groups are formed based on friend groups or cliques. The student requested to their professor that they can handle the task alone but weren't allowed to do so. The student was forced to join a group and the rest of the members grudgingly accepted with their deepest reservations. The student expected that there will be a meeting to discuss the group task but none were held. Weeks passed and the deadline was approaching. The rest of the group's lack of initiative forced the student to intervene and step up to lead the group, setting aside the queasiness regarding the workplace attitude of the group. The student's assumption of leadership made the other members' perception think of the student as an arrogant, insolent, and a know-it-all individual. Nevertheless, as the student assigned the specific tasks to the group members, some members either don't know how to comply or procrastinated, delaying the progress and the complete schedule of the task was falling behind. The student was forced to intervene and accomplish the task anyway just to finish it at hand, but the student felt cheated because the other members benefited and some were credit grabbing for their hard work. The point is, para saan lahat ng ginawa niya kung lahat ng mga gawain ay pinasa sa kanya sa kanilang group task? Ano pang silbi ng grupo? Group pa ba ito? May napansin ka ba sa senaryo na to? Ito lamang ay isang textbook example ng ilan sa mga toxic behavioral tendencies na makikita sa pang-araw-araw na buhay. In this instance, sa isang university environment. The tendencies shown in the scenario is not productive and a hindrance to progress. At the same time, hindi ka rin matututo dahil hindi ka nakaka-immerse sa isang task ng academic environment. Lalo na kapag pinasa lahat ng tasks sa'yo sa iisang tao lamang. In social terms naman, wala namang mali when you're sticking with your friend groups or cliques. Some can argue that with the right skill set of every member of the clique, it can be as productive. Also, in the academes part, I think we should let these students do the tasks in the case of group task if they think they can handle accomplishing it alone. they should just let them. Well, except for some instances, of course. In workplace politics naman, we should set aside our biases, our queasiness, and our sentiments towards other members and work for a common goal. In my opinion, we should live a life of bland compromise. Pero meron talagang mga tao na talagang quote-unquote, no, overly competitive or overly vocal or possessing some other personality traits na uncompromising. And I'd say to those people, screw the fuck out of you! Now, this toxic Filipino value, like the others we have talked about in the past episode, should be eradicated from the face of this earth. It's a hindrance to the development of our country and to our society as a whole. Kasi ito, nagpo-promote ito ng isang idea na dapat nakadepende sa iisang tao lamang. Instead of working as a group, lagi sila nakadepende sa isang tao at kapag konting pagkakamali lamang, nasa kanila lahat ang sisi. Walang responsibilidad, walang accountability. Yun ang problema dito. Makikita nyo ito sa politiko. Minsan kahit nakasalanan ng subordinates na kinakailangan ng kanilang kooperasyon, kahit sa trabaho, hindi lang sa gobyerno, at pumalpak ang isang proyekto, nasa sisi lagi kung sino ang mataas. At dahil dyan sa toxic Filipino values na ito, naging commonplace sa ating lipunan ang kung sino man ang pinakamakapal na mukha ay siyang mananatili. At kung ikukumpara mo ito sa ibang bansa, nakakalungkot na narinirahan nga tayo sa iisang lipunan na ganito. Yun lamang. The next scenario will be from a perspective of an illustrator that makes a living from art commissions. The subject also had predicaments towards their family. The illustrators hustled barefoot and made some profit out of it, so they decided to make an effort to give a portion of their profits to the family out of repaying the so-called debt of gratitude o yung utang na loob, hika nga sa wikang Tagalog. It backfired as time went on and the family, even the extended family, became overly reliant and expectant to the subject. Even stating that, kikitain mo din naman yan! Seemingly, they are exploiting the subject's generosity but they are just squandering that generosity into their own hubris. As they squandered the hard-earned profits of the subject, our subject, as a result, hasn't been able to save up for his own and became broke as fuck in terms of finances, that is. In our previous video about toxic Filipino values, we have mentioned that some toxic values may interlap with one another. This is one instance. We observed both gaslighting and toxic materialistic tendencies in this scenario. As we said before, hindi naman masama na magtanaw ng utang na loob. Pero, kung ikaw naman ay naaagrabyado, ito na isang uri ng pang-aabuso. Pang-aabuso sa iyong pagiging mapagbigay. Huwag nating pabayaan ang ating mga sarili. Para naman sa mga magulang, we value your sacrifice that you made just to raise us. But please, don't exploit that and treat us like an investment or an insurance or a goddamn retirement plan. Ngayon itong toxic Filipino behavior na ito, ano ang nagiging resulta? Nagiging alipin ang kabataan sa kanilang mga magulang o kung sino mang mas matanda sa kanila. Kaysa sa gumawa sila ng environment na kung saan ang kabataan na pag-asa ng bayan para sa pag-unlad sa kinabukasan, ay gumagawa sila ng environment na kung saan sila ay nakikinabang at sila lamang. Pang-aalipin at pananamantala ang kanilang mga ginagawa. Hindi namin lahat ng mga boomers, lahat ng mga matatanda na aming mga sinabi. Pero nakukuha nyo ang aming punto dahil ito ay naiengkwentro nyo, personally or nakikita nyo sa mga kilala nyo. Kaysa sa hikayatin nila ang kabataan at sabihin mo mga kanilang mga anak na sinasabi sa English, follow your dreams or chase what you are passionate about. Hindi yun ang ginagawa nila eh. Ang ginagawa nila, pinipilit nila sa mga kabataan kung ano ang maganda para sa kanila. Hindi kung anong maganda para sa kanilang mga anak. Yung mga negative side effects din nito, mas nagiging rebellious yung youth. At ang isa pa na ipapasa ito sa kabataan. Na-adapt nila yung ugali na, bakit pa ako magpapakahirap hanggang retirement kung pwede ko naman putukan ng isang babae dyan, maghintay na 9 na buwan at gawin kong insurance plan ng aking anak tulad ng ginawa ng aking tatay sa akin. Na ipapasa yung ganyang ugali, hindi mo yun may iwasan. Kaya kung ginagawa nyo man iyon sa inyong mga anak, o plano nyong gawin iyon sa mga iyong anak? Ito lang ang masasabi ko tungkol dyan.
Mali ka niyan! Mali ka niyan, kapatid!
Kung gusto mong umadlad ang isang bansa, itigil mo ang siklo ng ganitong pang-uugali. The details may be different, but the scenarios that we talked about share common themes with what we experience every day. But what are the things that these scenarios have shown us about the toxic Filipino values that we have mentioned in this episode and the last? Now for that, our dear viewers, let me ask you one question. What's the natural response of an organism against a parasite if it wants to live a better life? That's to get rid of it, right? In the case of what we have discussed today, it is up to decide what to do with the parasite, being these toxic values that have been plaguing the country for decades. We only have two choices in that matter. We can either retain these said toxic values for the sake of flawed ideals like pakikisama, seen by those before us who see it as tried and proven, under the false pretense that things will eventually fix themselves while the country rots before it plunges into an inevitable collapse. Or we can break the chains of wrongdoings passed down generation after generation to become bigger, better, faster, stronger to the point where our society and our country eventually progresses to a point where we are no longer a third world shithole that is a laughingstock among our countrymen and those outside our borders. That will give us a better chance of survival. The choice is up to you, but we all hope for what is best. If you like this video, please give it a like and share it to your friends. Comments are very appreciated, and your feedback is important to us here in Project Play Media PH so we can make better content in the future. This has been Kajo Bart speaking. Otsukare sama deshita. Maraming salamat po. Thank you for watching this episode and see you next time on Pilipinas Uncancelled.